Welcome to Bud Light Hog Talk here at District Bar and Grill. Thanks for tuning in on 23.2 Antenna TV. I'm your host, Slavko Bekovic. Great show lined up for you once again. First, we'll have Blackhawks developmental goalie coach Andrew Allen. Later in the show, we'll have Adam Clendenning, the rookie defenseman all-star, and we'll finish it off with IceHogs netminder Carter Hutton. Allie, once again, thanks for the time and welcome back to Hog Talk. You're a regular participant now.
Well, I enjoy it. As long as you keep inviting me back, I'll keep coming.
Well, I think you just need to talk to Ted Dent a little bit and say, all right, Teddy, I'm in town, so I guess I'm doing Hog Talk, right?
That seems to be what's been working out so far.
The theme of this week's episode is people getting the Hog Talk pawned off to them because we originally had Teddy along with Jeremy Morin and Joe Lavin. Lavin was replaced by Rob Flick, and then Flick was replaced ultimately by Carter Hutton. Morin ended up getting Clendenning to take his spot, so 0 for 5, I guess. It's just pinch hitters, right? The big hitter.
Yeah,
like
but look who you got. I think you guys lucked out tonight.
A couple All-Stars, I think, not so bad.
Doing all right.
Some big names for the IceHogs, right?
Sure.
Well, I guess the first question for you is always, where are you coming from? Welcome back to Rockford, and what's the schedule been like for Andrew Allen over the last week or two?
Well, I was here last week during the week. I was supposed to be here Tuesday, Wednesday, but with the weather on Tuesday, I couldn't get in, so I was just here Wednesday, and then I was in Toledo Thursday, Friday with Ken Simpson, one of our goalies, and then I was scouting college free agent goalies this weekend, so NCAA games in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Then I met the team yesterday for the Wolves game.
So not too bad of a travel, I guess. Toledo, Ann Arbor, Rockford,
It was
Chicago,
all a drive. It was all a drive for a change. I didn't have to get on an airplane. So
just got a little loop there in the Midwest, the Great Lakes area. You get to know the Midwest pretty well, huh?
Yeah.
I guess we can start off by talking about some goaltending, right? With,
Sure.
With the IceHogs.
Carter Hutton,
with a 6-game winning streak that was snapped yesterday in Chicago, but that tied a franchise record. We've talked about his athleticism and his kind of reaction time. Recently, he's just been playing lights out for the IceHogs.
Yeah, I think he's gotten onto a real good run, and he's been really focused mentally throughout it all and throughout all the season. But now he's kind of seeing the hard work pay off in this stretch. So the team has fed off of how well he's played, and the team's been playing very well. And you often see that when the goaltender's playing well, it'll help the team, and then the team gets going, and it looks like we've been scoring more goals lately, and that breeds success. And you can see it in Carter's record and in the team's record.
Now, with Hutton here in the crowd tonight, I don't want to have you say anything that he doesn't want to hear. But you don't get a chance too often to go on the road and watch guys play live. You had that opportunity to do so on Sunday at Allstate Arena to watch. What did you kind of come out of that game thinking, in regards to his goaltending that game?
Well, the team, as you guys have already mentioned tonight, they were on 3 games in 2.5 days, and with a flight in between. And what I noticed from Carter right away, even in warm-up, was that he was jumping, he was going, he was trying to get himself in with no morning skate on the Sunday, coming off a plane. He really trying to get that little bit extra to get going, and he looked good right from the get-go. And the game didn't work out for us, but if you look at Carter's body of work for the evening, he was very solid throughout for us all night. And so you have games like that. We just we came on strong and couldn't finish it off in the third period. But from a goaltending standpoint, I was very satisfied with how he played. He wants to make maybe one big save on a breakaway there and help the team win. And there's a lot of nights he does that, and we just didn't get enough out of that game to win it, but it happens. It was still a good hockey game.
It didn't really get that feeling, though, that it was a 3-3, 2 games in Oklahoma City, a flight in the morning on a game day where you play at 3 o'clock in Chicago, plus a delay of a couple hours. Yeah. The team didn't really look sluggish. I mean, there was maybe a lack of execution that they've had over the last few weeks, especially Friday, Saturday night in those comeback efforts, but overall, I thought the team still had that energy, that jump, like you said.
Yeah, it wasn't a sloppy game at all. It was a very actually entertaining game to watch, and I thought the team played very well. We just couldn't quite. We had a couple posts in the third. We had a disallowed goal in the third period, and it could have went our way, and it didn't, and we have to move on.
The third period saw Carter Hutton make one of the most acrobatic saves I remember seeing, and I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. I think he blockered one up into the air, and it went over his head, trickled down his back, and he kind of rolled over and jumped on top and pounced on it. It turned out to be a loose puck still, but they blew the whistle dead. That's the acrobatics, the athleticism, that reaction time you see from Carter Hutton. It was just great to see in person.
Yeah, I watched it in slow motion today on video, and it actually, I think it hit his arm, and it came, and he went to catch it, and I think it was Joey Lavin kind of knocked it out of his hand. It went up in the air, and Carter had the sense that as he felt it hit his shoulder, he rolled forward, and you can see him. He actually takes a face plant right into the ice because he doesn't want his weight going backward at all for the puck to have a chance to go behind him. So just that natural instinct that he had to roll forward really saved us a goal there and still gave us a chance to win the game.
It almost looked like he arched his back to try to cup it and then turned around to prevent it to go from the net that he was facing. Just incredible to see in person. And yeah, one of the saves I'll remember this season.
Oh, it was a great save, and it looks even better in slow motion. It really does, because you just see the whole body. His body kind of crumples, and you can see he's trying to soften the blow and trying to have it not bounce off him. If he could have had it stick to his back right there, it would have been something I've never seen before. But that's what he was trying to do, is just keep it close to him, try to get it in front of him, and it was a great save.
Now you've gotten a chance to see Henrik Karlsson, get a little bit more familiar with him now in that with the IceHogs. You know, what have you seen from his game? I know talking with you about a month ago, back when you were on Hog Talk, you mentioned that maybe puck handling was something that you wanted to see him work on more, and it seems to me that he's definitely making an effort to go out and play a lot more pucks recently. Yeah,
you know, with our team, you have Hutton as a goalie that plays the puck better than most goalies.
He's got like 4 assists.
Exactly. And so then Karlsson, it's a different feel for the defenseman. Karlsson doesn't play it as much, and we've worked every day that I've been with Karlsson. We've worked on his puck playing, but it's still a work in progress, and he does make an effort to get out. We just need to get a little bit better of a plan between him and the defenseman so that everybody's on the same page, because they haven't been behind him as much either.
Sure.
You know, they're used to Hutton, and they're used to you know, Richards when he was here. So with Karlsson, we're still, the D and the goalie are still learning on what's best to happen there, and we've had some mistakes because of it, but he continues to make an effort to come out and play it, and that's how he's going to improve.
What are your overall impressions of him so far, not just, you know, in net, but also off the ice and kind of working with you?
Well, he came in with a really good attitude. He was happy to be here, and obviously his ultimate goal, just like Carter's, is to be in the NHL, and he has been in the NHL. So I was happy when he came in that he wanted to learn, he wanted to critique his game, and he wanted to get better. Then he went up to Chicago, and since he's come back from Chicago, he has had a couple games where I know he'd want to play better. You know, so we're working now on just getting him back in the right mindset, back in the right frame of mind to perform at his best. But he's a big goalie that plays deep. We're working on him playing just maybe getting a little bit more depth. But he plays deep, and he's big, and he plays the percentages. And when he's on, he can be a really good goaltender.
Now, when you come down here in Rockford in person and you're watching these games, obviously you're paying attention primarily to Carter Hutton, Henrik Karlsson, whoever the IceHogs goaltenders are. But how much do you pay attention to the other team's goalie? Obviously, when the IceHogs have the puck, you're watching him as well. Are you kind of critiquing him, scouting maybe? You never know what's going to happen in the future with trades or free agency, whatever it may be. But how much are you watching the other goaltenders?
I obviously watch ours the most, but ours I can also watch on video after as well. So I watch the other goalie very closely. And mostly for the fact that we play a lot of the same teams all the time, so it's more from a pre-scout perspective to give our guys an idea of where we can beat him, where he's weak, what he's very good at, if he's got a really quick glove, or he's a goalie that gets, like if I was scouting Carter Hutton to play against him, he'd be like, let's try to keep the puck away.
Don't give away any secrets now.
No, let's try to keep the puck away from him, right?
Sure.
And that's what teams try to do. So I watch them from a pre-scout perspective, and then from a Blackhawks perspective, you always keep a log of every goalie that I see, so for future, and if you ever get questions of what's this guy like, or what do you think of this guy, well, I have a log of exactly what I think of every goalie we've played against.
So how much do coaches, you know, whether it's Toledo or Portland or here in Rockford, how much are coaches, you know, asking for your input or relying on your input when they're game planning for the opponent that they're playing against? Maybe they don't know a Joe Canada, who we did see earlier this season for the Chicago Wolves, but how much are they asking you about what their tendencies are? Well,
here with Rockford, I give my opinion on every goalie, every game. So here it's part of our process and our pre-scout, and then in Toledo and Portland, not as much, because I'm not there as much. But with Portland last year in the playoffs, I went in for a few games, and the coach asked me, what do you think of this goalie we're playing against, and give me some tips. So I do get those questions. But
did they win that series?
No, it was actually the finals. They lost in the finals, but it was after game 1, and they won game 2. So it was good. It was good.
You get a point for that one.
But yeah, it's here in Rockford. It's kind of a necessity. It's part of our planning, and I have to know exactly what's going on with the other goalies in the league. But outside of here, not as much.
How about a little bit of an update, I guess, for the two guys who may be IceHogs relatively soon, Matt Caruth in Portland and Ken Simpson in Toledo?
Simpson is they're getting closer to playoffs now, and he's been down. We have a split affiliate with Toledo, so there's a Detroit goalie there and a Chicago goalie there. So Kent plays every second game, and he's been his numbers are great. He's 9th in the league with his numbers for the year as a rookie goalie. I think that's quite an accomplishment, and to me, he's been steadily progressing throughout the year, and he was a little inconsistent earlier in the year, and since Christmas he's been real consistent for them and giving them a chance, so that's great. And Matt Kruth in Portland. Portland just clinched last night, I believe, the overall title in the WHL for regular season, so they have a very good hockey team, and this has been the most consistent that Mac has been in his, from what they tell me, in his 4 years in Portland, so he's doing really well. His numbers are first in the league, and he is gearing up at this point for playoffs, because they're only about 2 weeks away for playoffs, and hopefully they'll make a big run at it, but there's a lot of good teams out there too, so it'll be an interesting playoff run.
Now I want to ask you, I think there's been a little bit of a debate recently, and really over the last few years in the sport of hockey in general, about shootouts.
Yes.
And me and Jeremy Morin actually got into a little bit of a debate last week about it. I think the Hawks Red Wings game, there was people complaining that the shootout isn't an accurate way of deciding a winner, and the argument on the other side is that it's a goaltender win. So if your goalie comes up big in the shootout, it's a goaltender win. It makes him feel good. But it's not always the case. I mean, not to downplay that win for the Blackhawks, but Corey Crawford was 3 for 3, didn't allow a goal.
Right.
But the second goal shooter was Adrian Bruner, who had him beat, but he just lost the puck.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of a debate as to, is it really a goaltender win? And as a goalie coach and a former goaltender, what's your opinion on that?
I personally, I've had years when I played where my shootout statistics were very good, and I've had other years where they weren't as good. And I would rather see personally a game decided by a goal, by an overtime goal, by a hockey play, not by a breakaway where it's not even a breakaway. The guy has all the time in the world, and basically
there's no one chasing him.
No, so your goalie can come up and make big saves for you in a shootout and get you a point. Carter Hutton is the perfect example in Oklahoma City Friday night. I believe he only had 15 shots in the game, but then he comes up and the other goal. I think we had we had tons of shots on the other goalie.
40, I think.
But then he comes in and Carter goes 3 for 4, 4 for 5 in the shootout and wins us the game in the shootout. Whereas there's other nights where you could be the exact opposite. You could go. Well, here's another example. Carter opening night against Chicago.
Absolutely.
Carter Hutton had a shutout, had an unbelievable game, and then we lose the shootout. Well, is it Carter Hutton's fault? No, not at all. It's
he kept you in the game. You didn't get to the shootout unless Carter Hutton has a shutout.
And the way he was playing, we probably could have played 3, 4, 5 overtimes, and he might have never given up a goal in a hockey game setting. So, as a goalie, I would rather see it decided by overtime, and that's why playoffs are that much more exciting, because games are decided and a goal's a goal, and it's over, and it's not left to something like shootout. But shootout is very exciting. It's very good for the fans, so I see why it's done. But from a goalie's perspective, I think most goalies anyways would rather see it, if you're going to beat me in a game.
Right. I'm with you 100% on that. I'd rather see overtime until someone scores, go sudden death until, like you said, a hockey play is made, someone scores rightfully. Whether it's 4-on-4, that's kind of another debate, but we'll leave that alone. Now, again, for shootouts, the mentality of a goaltender going into a shootout, is it a lot different than going into an overtime period or starting another period? And how would you compare it maybe to just stopping a breakaway chance during regulation?
It's more of a... It's more difficult in the shootout, I believe, because you have with goalies, the more time you have to think, usually the worse it is, because we're instinctive. We're our goalies are very reactionary by nature, and when a breakaway happens in a game, you don't have a lot of time to think, and you react naturally. In a shootout, there's so much more comes in. Is he coming slow? Is he coming fast? Is he changing the angle on you? Where do I need to be? And you're thinking all the time through it, and sometimes you end up thinking too much on it. So I feel the shootout is a different mindset than a breakaway in a game, just because you have that much more time to think.
Then I guess the only other thing is preparation for a shootout in regards to a breakaway goal, let's say. Is there a tendency maybe to even overthink it in a shootout as a goaltender? Maybe you're thinking, all right, he's going to go on a backhand. He normally goes backhand, or he is always a 5-hole, like a Jonathan Taves. I would say 90% of the time he's going 5-hole. Do you have a tendency to maybe have that backfire on you as a goalie?
Yeah, I have a good story about that, actually. I know the goalie coach for the Montreal Canadiens well, Pierre Grew, and last year at the beginning of the year, Pierre's background was he was a video coach before he was a goalie coach, so he's very good on the video side, and he had all this video set up at the beginning of the year last season for Carey Price, and he wanted to pre-scout the shootouts all the time for him, every shooter, so he knew that day who he was facing, and Carey Price said, no, thank you, I want to react naturally. I don't want to know. Then Price struggled in shootouts through the first half of last season. Then he finally said, okay, let's try it. Then he was dynamite in shootouts. So for Carey Price, it worked to have a little bit of a pre-scout on the shooters. Other goalies will say, no, I just want to react naturally. Our goalies, we have a shootout database, so they have the ability to look and see the shooters of the teams we're playing against, see their tendencies. And I know Carter looks at it. I don't know if he looks at it every game, but he looks at it from time to time. So it depends on the goalie. But from my personal standpoint, I like to know the tendencies, but you can't bank on it. You have to play every breakaway the same way and react. And that's what it comes down to. Because if you bank on something, you can be leaning, you can be cheating, then you're in trouble. You have to be able to play it so that you're ready to react, whether he shoots, whether he goes forehand, whether he goes backhand.
Well, that's all the time we have for the shootout debate on this week's episode. Maybe we'll talk about it again. Ali, thanks again for the time.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we'll see you again on Hawk Talk quite soon.
I hope so. Thanks.
All right, give it up for Andrew Allen. We'll be back with more right here on 23-2 Antenna TV. You're watching Bud Light Hawk Talk at District Bar and Grill.